Good morning, children. Sai Ram. Welcome back to our English class. And today we are going to revise some activities and some answer the following from the lesson number 7, China Silk. So before we start our answer and the questions and the answers and some of the activities, now let us do the quick recap what was the lesson about. So hope you all remember and read the lesson and understood what the lesson is about. So shall we start? Yes. Now there was a tiny village in China, and there lived a poor girl who was from the weaver's family. So one day the emperor was passing through that village, and the emperor saw this girl who was working in her field, and she was working from dawn to night, and her hands were very rough, and it shows that she is a hard working girl. And immediately the emperor fell in love and decided to marry her. Now this girl, she got married to the ruler of the land and went to live in his palace as his beloved queen. But being a queen, in spite of being a queen, she was very unhappy. Why was she unhappy? Because there was no work for her, and there were many servants to do all her work, and nobody were there to talk with her. So she felt very bored, and she was confined. She felt like confined. And since she has grown in the countryside, now she is confined to a palace. She was trapped in the palace. She was not able to move out, see her friends, see her families, and talk and have a fun. So she became very sad. Now this emperor was watching her. So to make her happy, he brought grand clothes and lot of jewelries and big parties and artifacts, and he called the musicians of the land to make her happy. But still, this queen was very unhappy. So one afternoon, what happened? She was very sadly, she was sitting under the mulberry bush with a cup of hot water. So she was totally engrossed in her thoughts of her village life. Now slowly when she sipped the hot water from a cup, she saw something fell in that cup. And what happened? So she took the cup very closer to have a look. What is that? And she noticed that some threads were coming out, and she started pulling the threads, and it was very shining, thin, and long. So what she got, immediately she got the idea. She called her servants and they collected many cocoons. It was a cocoon. So they started collecting many cocoons and they put everything in the hot water, and they collected a fair amount of silk threads, that is yarn. And she got the idea of weaving the cloth out of it. And this cloth only the royal people used. Royal people means only the kings and queens, only the rich people used. And this manufacturing of silk was not passed out of the China, but slowly they started the trading between the China and the Europe, and through Asia. This was called the Silk Route. And then what happened? Now the Chinese have learned to make the silk, but they took an oath that not to reveal this secret to any other countries. But when the princesses were got married, they were instructed not to reveal the secret of making the silk clothes. But There was a prince who was very clever. When she got married, so she hid in the hair dough some of the cocoons, and she went to her husband's place. And that time these princesses were checked thoroughly when they move out of their place. So, but this princess is so clever that she hid some cocoons on her hairdo. So nobody is going to check the hairdo. So she took the cocoons to her husband's place and she started manufacturing the silk. So she spreaded out the secret of making silk. Now, after going to her husband's house, she took out these cocoons from her hairdo and started gathering the silk. So in this way, the silk was invented, the silk thread was gathered, and the legend goes on, and the knowledge of how to make silk is left China. So how to make silk left China, and it was spreaded all over the world. So this is the lesson about. Now let's see some activities now. I hope you all read the lesson. Now let's start with the past tense. Give past tense of. Past tense means which is finished. Okay. Question number 1 is mean, meant, buy, bought, sip, sipped. So all this you have to learn by hand, and you can write and practice also, which will be useful for your exams. Wear, or, hide, hid, drop, dropped, weave, wove. So if you have your English classwork, you can just copy down from, write the date, write the heading, and write the past tense of. And next one is give the opposites of. Continue, discontinue, dawn, dusk, elaborate, simple, amuse, depress, reveal, hide, confine, revealed. Now let's revise the answer the following. So whom did the emperor see in the village? So he saw a poor girl. The emperor saw a poor girl from a weaver's family working in the field. And he immediately fell in love with her and decided to marry her. So you can write whom did the emperor see in the village? You can write the emperor saw a poor girl in the village who was working in the field. So this much answer is also enough. And you can write in your own words also. Number 2, why was the empress unhappy about staying in the palace? Because the empress was unhappy about staying in the palace because she felt like confined in a space. She was used to do her own work, but it was being taken care by her servants now. She did not know how to fill her time. She did not have anybody to talk to. So she became unhappy, right? And our next question is, what could the emperor have done to make the empress happy? He brought clothes, jewels. The emperor tried his best to make the empress happy. He bought clothes, jewels, and artifacts. He threw elaborate parties and hired the best musicians of the land to amuse her. And what happened one day when the empress was sitting under the mulberry tree? So one day when the empress was under the mulberry tree, a cocoon from the mulberry tree had dropped into her cup of hot water. And what did the empress see from the cocoon? The empress saw some threads coming out from the cocoon. So children, no need of by hearting the answers. You should understand what is the lesson is about. So during your exams, the options will be given. So if you know the lesson, you can easily choose the correct answers. So for this, you can just go through all these question and answers. And who wove the first piece of cloth from the silk threads? What was special about this cloth? And this empress wove the first piece of cloth from the silk threads. It was weaved from a special weaving machine which was needed to weave this cloth. And who could wear clothes made of silk? The royal people. Only the royal people could wear clothes made of silk because it is very expensive. And why was the trade route between China and Europe was called the Silk Route? The trade route between China and Europe was called the Silk Route because the silk was traded through this route. So it was called as Silk Route. And how did the silk making process go out of China? A clever princess hid the cocoon in her long, elaborate hairdo and took them to her husband's house outside China. There she started gathering silk thread. So this is how the silk was left China. And this is the end of the lesson, children. Thank you. And read the lesson again and again. No need of by hearting the answers. Understand the lesson so that you can easily choose the correct answers during your exams. Now see you in the next video with a new chapter. Until then, stay home, stay safe. Bye-bye, children.